and just let them know. Thank you. Ola? Yep. All right, please help us welcome Ola. So now we'll talk briefly about the Summer Olympics, and then we'll jump into the meat of our meeting. So, interestingly, they do have some new competitions this year at the Summer Olympics. Anybody know any of the new competitions? Badminton, skateboard. Skateboard, yes.
Surfing.
Martial arts. Yes, karate. One more.
A new 800-meter swimming race.
Yeah, that is on there. Also, hopefully there's sports climbing. I'm not exactly sure. Anybody know what it's like? Sports climbing. Sports climbing. I guess, I don't know. I didn't know either. Anybody remember the year of the first Olympic Games ever held? 1869. Anybody remember where? Greece. Yes, Athens, Greece. One more little piece of trivia. Does anybody know that there are mascots at the summer games? Yes. Anybody know the name? Can anybody pronounce it? I haven't seen it. It looked like a little sonic creature, but Sonic the Hedgehog? Kind of. Look it up.
The judges will accept the answer.
But I cannot pronounce the name of something. I don't know. It's got obviously some Japanese name that converts English, but anyway. With that, we will now go into our duty holders. I do have one open position. Is there anybody who wants to be all counter for this evening? Okay, Mark, all right. Let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to start with Wes, who is our timer and our vote count. Wes is
All right, hello everyone, Toastmasters and my guests. Today I'm going to be doing two different tasks. One of them is being vote counter, the other one will be so as a timer, I will be helping the speaker practice expressing the thought within a specific time. My duty is to time prepared speeches, table topics, speech evaluations during the meeting. The green card indicates qualifying time. Yellow card is target time. The red card is maximum time, and you have 30 seconds. For a 5 to 7 minute prepared speech, I'll show the green card at 5 minutes. The yellow card is 6 minutes. The red card is 7. And then you have 30 seconds. The table topics, each speaker is encouraged to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. I'll show the green card at 1 minute, the yellow card is 1 minute, 30 seconds, the red card 2 minutes, and you have 30 seconds. For evaluators, you have 2 3 minutes. The green card is shown at 2 minutes, the yellow card is 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and the red card is 3 minutes, and you have 30 seconds. If you speak under time or overtime by more than 30 seconds, it will be disqualified. It will not be eligible for awards. However, the table topics must reach the point. For the vote counter, we'll be rewarding these to whoever wins tonight. I will collect and count the ballots as an example. I will collect and count the ballots. We're now in both the speaker based table topic, speaker based evaluator. That's the big three. Big three are Toastmaster, table topics master, and all that. I will record each person into each category. I will not cast about myself, except in the case of a tie. In which case, I will cast it over the regular time. I will not announce the tie vote. Please place your vote in one of these containers on each day. Use little cups of soda. At the end of the meeting, I'll announce the award winners to the winners of the votes. The balance also have space to write comments to each speaker, evaluator, and public participant. Please place comments in containers and I will look into the focus. She doesn't.
Our next duty for this evening will be Dagan, and for Mary Dagan, please show your role.
All right, as for Mary, I'll be keeping the trackers of good use of the English languages and some things that you may need to be improved on. So I'll keep a tally out throughout the meeting and give my report. At the end of the meeting, also is for the day, which is celerity. Celerity. I know it's very amazing, but celerity means swiftness and speed. So you must use celerity during the tabletop itself, or one of the qualifications to qualify for tabletop. And of course, I will make notation if anybody needs to, other places to do meetings as well. So once again, I will keep track of good use and proper use of English language, and the word of the day is Matthew.
Our next duty host this evening is Paul Connor, who helps us in our department.
As dog counter, I'll be listening to crutch words. So, and I just use so without any real need to. So that's another one that we do frequently. I have to do that on myself a few times. But if you hear this noise, it's intended to be obnoxious because it'll get your attention and it will over time remind you to lessen your reliance on the noise. I will not do this during the prepared speeches so I don't detract from the speaker's concentration. And I'll make a report when called upon by the general evaluator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow members, guests. As your posture monitor, I'll be looking for any posture that is distracting, any gestures that are distracting. Also, I will be looking for positive things, gestures that enhance what you're trying to say, what you're trying to present, things that will help the audience to see and understand. If I see something that's bad that inhibits your message across the audience, I will ring the bell. I will do this throughout the meeting, except during the prepared speeches, especially because I'm one of the prepared speakers, but also during Mark's shorter speech as well. But again, if you hear this during table topics or any other time during the meeting, take a second to think about what you're doing with your hands. The default posture is down to the side. That will also enhance any gestures that you may have if you have them. I'll keep a report throughout the meeting, keep notes, and then I will give that report when called upon by the general evaluator toward the end of the meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Few other interesting facts about the summer games. Tokyo has actually hosted the Olympics once before in 1964. Anybody know of a city that has hosted the summer games 3 times?
Athens.
No. Correct. The other takers. London. London has hosted 3 games. And the U.S. has won more gold medals and another gold medal than any other country. With that, I will now go into our prepared speaking portion of the meeting. Note to the timer for speaking. Looking at the agenda, both speakers have requested 6 to 8 minutes on the time. The green is 6, yellow is 8. Our first speaker for this evening is Mark Schroeder. He will be evaluated by Dagan. Dagan, please turn to Mark Schroeder.
Mark's speech in like 6 minutes out of what's the best match, cloth or surgical.
project, remember to practice speech emphasizing on adding language to increase interest and impact. And listen for descriptive words, literary elements, such as plot, letting think about the story, speakers telling, even if the information is not engaging. So I'll be looking for those different things. And again, the speech is, what's the best math? Surgical, plot, surgical, stage.
Welcome, Mark Schroeder, with the surgical plot. The CDC just changed their guidance that fully vaccinated people may need to wear masks indoors again if you're in an area where there's a high level of spread. Now, county just raised the level where it goes from yellow to orange this last weekend. And the CDC has already had California at risk. Now, why is that happening? Well, apparently Texas has way too many people who didn't pass high school science classes. But we are covered masks, but now we should talk a little bit about the question of which is better, plot or surgical? The answer, of course, is an N95. Not what I expected either, but that's the way the article started. I expected to get an answer to the other question, but there's a reason why N95s are so important. If you remember back at the start of the pandemic, they said, don't buy N95s because they're needed by healthcare workers. They were needed by healthcare workers because they're really about the only thing that really works to protect the healthcare workers. And notice I say to protect the healthcare workers, not the patients. An N95 is unusual in a couple of ways. First of all, it's made of a material that doesn't block 95% of all particulate matter is over some very small size, 0.3 microns, doesn't really matter, it's really small. But about 95% of the fabric of material does that. You'll also find that they have head straps all the way around. Head straps are part of the standard. Not head straps, not N95. Also, an N95 in general has a very good fit around your mouth and facial area. The way they work is that every bit of air has to go both directions through the fabric. There's no leakage on either side. Leaking around the side is not really working. And these are certified by NIOSH, which is the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. I see a couple of you mouthing that along, so some of you know all of this information. That's right. You can correct me. But that's basically what an N95 is and why they are important. The next level that you can get to is what's called the KN95. We'll go over what the difference is. First of all, let me go real quickly. I notice this one kind of a formed cup. The one I was wearing is more of this style, which is a duck bill. These are the two typical ones that you find for an N95. When you get into a KN95, what you find is typically a vertical form. And you will find ear loops. You see ear loops, it's not an N95, because that's the case. I'm not sure why it matters, but maybe it has to do with patients grabbing at you and knocking them off. Maybe they just put off. You don't want that to happen. In theory, the fabric should be about the same. It should be 95% filtering and have the same filtering capability as an N95. In practice, that doesn't seem to be the case because the statistics on these show that as many as high as 70%, it's really over 50% of all in terms of meeting the 95%. Now, how bad is it? Could be 96, 94, say 95, still say it. So I don't really know. They don't tell you how bad it is. Could be 7, you don't know. But these are the China standard. There's a different standard in China that makes sort of KN95. It does allow for ear loops, which sometimes is comfortable. Especially for a haircut, but these are not generally considered as good just because they're not quite perfect. The other thing that is interesting is because of the word is called the shape of these are made in China. And they are typically made for the world in Asian face, which has more round face to it than and these are more for the Western states. So depending upon how your face actually fits one or the other, make it a better fit. That's something to keep in mind as a rule. Finally, we have the last two. So we have cross and surgery. These are not very effective. They are still better than nothing. For me, if you are wearing it, but not so much for you if you're wearing it. If you happen to hold on to the light, if you happen to hold on to the light, which you will notice is that you'll be able to see a lot of light through it. There are a lot of very large holes. Certainly ear loops, and they do not fit tightly around the face. There's a lot of air leaks around the ground. So it's a side thing. And so if you wear one of these, you're really protecting me more than you're protecting yourself. It's going to block a certain amount of the droplets that come out of your nose and mouth. They'll get caught here. But all the rest of the stuff in here is going right around the sides of these, and you're going to be breathing. These are not a whole lot better. These are a little bit less permeable here in the sense that they're all alcohol. But in terms of the leakage that you get around the medical issues, not much better. These are also probably a little bit better than more. If you happen to be in an area where liquids are spraying, because a lot of times you can stop it. That's another stuff. So if you have a choice, you want to look for a true N95 line. You can't get them before. It is still difficult to get just because there are a lot of counterfeits out there. I think there were 3 million counterfeits of 3M just recently uncovered and seized. So you do have to be careful. I may be able to help you with some sources if you're interested. But at this point, sadly, because of lack of vaccinations, masks are probably going to come back. We're orange. We may end up going to red before we're done. You have a choice. You can protect yourself, or you can wear something that protects me and not you. It's your choice. Mr. Toast.
Interesting speech. Actually, just so you don't know, in order for a N95 mask to really work, you do actually have to be fit tested. So if you go, you happen to find, say, a medium mask, and you really need a large mask, you'd be wearing an N95 mask and virtually not protecting yourself. Or if, for example, you have a large and you put it on and you're supposed to wear small, it won't work. Too small or too large, it doesn't fit, and it won't really protect it. And also, just so you know, seems like in the hospital, unless it's actually working with COVID, you get N95 mask and oh, it's just infected. I don't know, all I know is I had COVID and I wore one of the N95 masks related to it. Maybe it's just for long. Our next speaker this evening will be Evaluator John Vessel. John, will you please share our next speaker's objective?
Giving Toastmasters and guests. Rob is doing a speech from his connected storytelling module pathway. And the purpose of this speech is to practice telling a story or giving a speech with a story inside of it. So the whole goal tonight is for him to present a speech that is basically a story or has a story inside it, and to have a well-organized speech that includes the story. His title is Knock Knock. It is 6 days later. Mr. Toastmaster.
Please help me welcome Rob Giles with Knock Knock. Rob Giles.
driveway, got out of my car, and I walked up the door, found the key in the hidden spot, put it into the doorknob or the keyhole, turned it, opened the door, closed the door behind me, locked the handle, locked the deadbolt, heard that deadbolt slide right in, sense of security. I thought, now I can relax. No one is getting through that door. No one. I thought that a little foolishly, a bit ironic. Ladies and gentlemen, how many of you have felt like a fool at different times in your life? I would imagine everybody at some point. And if not, life's not over yet. After I had those thoughts, I did what I was there to do. I went to the master bathroom and let out these two cute little dogs so that they could get outside, take care of both their businesses. Business number one, business number two. They've been waiting all day for me to get home. I had them come back in, and at that point, I thought, I need to make a food run, get something for myself for dinner. So, put the dogs back into the master bedroom, into the bathroom, locked them up in their sight, needed to be in there according to the orders. I decided, I'm not going to go out the front door and mess with the lock. I'm going to leave it the way it was, nice and secure. I'm going to go out the garage door. Electric, had it go up, close it behind me. So I did just that. And as that garage door was closing, I thought, I don't have a garage door opener. The owners didn't leave that for me, but I still have my key. I could get back in the front door. So I went off in pursuit of food. Came back, pulled out my key as I was walking to the door, put it in the keyhole, turned it, started to open it, wouldn't touch. I thought, what is it, stuck? So I gave it a little, but still, nothing. And then, in my head, I heard that deadbolt sliding into the door jamb. But then I looked at the door, and there was no keyhole for that. And as I was thinking, what a fool. I could hear those dogs in the bathroom barking out at me, the intruder. I looked around in the neighborhood to make sure that I wasn't a fool to more than myself. Luckily, there was nobody around. And I decided, wait a second. I had let the dogs out the back. There's the patio door. So I jumped the fence. Now, yes, I did look around again to make sure nobody was watching. Because it took a little bit of a run and a jump to get over it. It was probably about 6 feet tall. Didn't have any horizontal bars. It was all vertical. So I had to pull myself up. And luckily there wasn't any barbed wire at the top. Got over, saw that there was actually a side door by the kitchen. I thought, there we go, excellent. Took the key out again, wouldn't quite go in. Why is this lock any different than the front door? So I ran around to the back. Thought, I'm getting in the patio. I know I am. Strike two. I thought, there's one more. The back garage door. Took that key out. The Hail Mary. Tried sticking it in there, but guess what? Didn't fit. Again. What am I going to do? How am I going to explain this to the owners? They're not back for 3 days. The dogs are in the master bathroom. They have a little pee pad, but I don't think that's going to last them for 3 days. Maybe. They have a spare key that they have hidden outside the house, right? Who does it? Who wouldn't keep a spare key outside their house? So I was like, I'm not gonna even call them, I'm just gonna tap. Hey, just tap it around myself. Got that spare key, where is it? Let me know. I can really use it. After maybe 10 minutes or so, I got a response. No spare key. You couldn't afford that spare key, you couldn't find it, couldn't have. They said, why don't you try lifting the garage door with, by yourself, man? I'll give that a shot. So went over to the garage door and looked for the handle. There's no handle. That's from maybe 1980 or something, there's handles. There's no handles anymore. I looked around any place that I could stick my fingertips under to try to lift that up, and there's nothing. So I still had to try. And I did something like this. And I had about as much success with that door as I did with that wall right there. So I let them know that. They called the locksmith. Waited about 45 minutes, and the locksmith pulls up. Of course, it's getting dark out now. I'm feeling a little bit more embarrassed. More like a fool. Locksmith gets out, starts walking over to me, smiles. See, he's got this nice big gold tooth. Starts to talk to me. It's not an English accent, not an American accent. Some Slavic accent. English was not his first language. Great. Said, well, come over here to the side door, try to open this door on the side. He started fiddling around with it. Acted like he was having a hard time. I say acted, that was suspicious. This was not my house. I already thought, there's no way these people are calling me back for another go at watching their dogs. After a few minutes, he said, this lock is tougher than normal locks. Looks normal to me. He said, are there any other doors? Let me look. I'm like, really? So I had him go around and looked at all the other doors, the garage door, the patio door. I thought, this is great. I'm helping this guy case the house. I was feeling like I'm not just going to be a fool now, I'm going to be a fool down the road. He looked at him, he said, these aren't any different. So he came back to the first one, fiddled around more, popped it open. And then, it was time for the bill. He whipped out his handwritten note, and of course, a little bit extra for that top lock. And then my credit card, he charged me. I went inside, and I thought, nobody got through that front door, but I sure do feel like back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
This time, I have a term for please.
Yes, both of them on the full file.
Please vote for the persons who felt that evening that are prepared speakers. Or please vote. And place the cup, place the vote, with your cup, yes, you are welcome to vote. Couple of other interesting facts about the Olympics and summer games. The games have been canceled 3 times in history. Once during World War I in 1916, twice during World War II, 1940 and 1944. Believe that as far as they're considering, they just postponed the game this time, so they weren't actually canceled, it was just postponed. Whereas 1916 to 1940 to 1944 games were just outrageous of the Civil War. Another interesting fact about the medals, those gold medals that everyone wants to win, well, they're actually made out of silver and they're gold plated. They're not actually pure gold all the way through. Something else to consider, if you happen to get lucky and win the gold medal at the Olympics, just know that you do actually have to pay taxes on that gold medal. And if you're playing a game overseas, then that country may also make you pay for taxes and fees and customs. This is the thing, those medals come with a price in more ways than just one. With that, I will now bring up our table topic message this evening, Kim Cranko.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Tonight, as table topic master, I will be asking some questions. The word of the day to use in order to qualify for ribbon. Your time is 1 to 2 minutes. You're disqualified after 2.5 minutes. The purpose of table topic is to enhance your public speaking impromptu, off the cuff. You may have an opportunity sometimes to introduce yourself or ask questions, and being able to be prepared just with the ability to sound like you know what you're doing. So the questions that I'm going to ask are going to continue with the theme of Summer Olympics. So now, I don't know about you, but we're facing another wave of the pandemic. Besides the fact that there was some weather-related worries over in Japan, so what I want to know, what would a good idea to continue to have the Olympics? Should they have had the Olympics, or should they have decided to not have the West?
So should they have had the Olympics this year, or should they have waited? Well, on the one hand, I would say that we've all been very anxious to get back to, literally, with getting back to our normal lives. And the Olympics is a great example of something that unifies us as a world. You know, we all went through this pandemic together, and now we kind of have the Olympics to kind of bring people back together. So I think, in my opinion, it's best that we do. Like I said, it brings solidarity to people. It gets people at least going down the path of figuring out how it is that we're going to exist in a post-pandemic world. I think if we had just waited and not done it, then we would be facing this situation regardless. And do we really want to go another year without people playing badminton or whatever it is they're playing at the Olympics? I don't want to. The biggest issue I think that we have is really just the pandemic continuing to go on and create more and more. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. To actually participate and be part of the Olympics. What would your choice be? What events would you be in if it was possible for you to do so? I'm going to ask this to our guest, Tom. I know you participated in the table topic. So, Tom, what would your choice of Olympic event be if you were competing?
the athletic ability, the power, the speed, the celerity, the endurance, or even really the skill to be an elite athlete. So I have enormous respect and admiration for them, and also for what these athletes put themselves through, the rigors of training and the years of dedication in order to get there. I have to say, I don't know that I watched the Olympic Games, but I don't know that I've ever seriously entertained the thought that I could, in any realistic scenario, participate in a sport at that level. I have to say, if I daydream, if I think about what I might like to do or see myself in that role, I don't think I would want to be, for example, one of the basketball players on the Dream Team, Team USA. As great as it is to see them out there, I'm not sure that I would want that 7x24 by 365 celebrity that they have. I think I would rather be a world-class athlete in one of the sports that, if you're somebody like me, you always see once every 4 years in the Olympics, like maybe the swimming. I think I would take swimming as an event for me, so that I could return to obscurity, if you will. Thank you.
I'm sure that you all have heard, unfortunately, about Simone Biles. And unfortunately, she had a rough time over there. So my thought is, are the Olympics really about the individual or about the team? If it's the team, then obviously representing the USA, but Simone was also representing herself. So what I want to know is it an individual or a team effort? Dagan.
Yeah, but it comes down to whether it's a team or individual. So, you know, basically, it depends on the sport, really, I imagine. If you're going into synchronized swimming, that's a team sport. If we celebrate as a team. But if you're, like maybe archery could be as a team, but also be said as an individual. So it's all really based on the team. Of course, when it comes to running, that takes a lot of clarity to do. And really, like I said, it comes down to being a single type event or a uniperson or a group type event. Now, I don't really watch too much Olympics when it's on the path. I actually haven't watched any of it this year yet. I don't know if it's on TV or not. I haven't seen it. But I just never really got into watching the Olympics that much, but like I said, in the past, I have watched them. And when you see, like, one of these people who just win, and it's a team, you see them celebrating as a team. Of course, it's a single type of person event, students celebrating by themselves, but you see other USA members celebrating with the team. So really, I can also say that even an individual event is celebrated by everybody else around you too. And that goes with other countries too. I've seen this happen. Celebrate individuals, they celebrate teams as well. Back to you, table talk tonight.
Thank you, Dagan. The Olympics have been held or part of the culture for many years. Going back to ancient Greece, where you have individual competitors. My older sister lives outside of Salt Lake, and I actually thought about when the Olympics were going to be held in Salt Lake. I thought this would be my one time to be able to see the Olympics and be able to cut down the costs somewhat. And I talked to my sister, and she said, you know, it's going to be beyond crazy. But not only that, she indicated how expensive it would be. Because you had to have tickets for each individual event. Any event that you wanted to go in, you had to have a ticket. So she said, if I remember right, that for the opening ceremony, the ticket was like $1,000. So I guess the thought is that I guess a boon to the economy, and obviously it takes a long time to prepare for the Olympics, and having to build and have construction for the different events and having places for all those people to be able to be housed and fed. So what I want to know is the financial cost worth it, John Gessel?
Is the financial cost worth it? Yeah, I think so. I think we need the entertainment. I think we need the competition. I personally enjoy it. I mean, I probably would have spent $1,000 to go see the ceremony, and probably wouldn't have done much of anything because I'm not a crowd person. I've worked a lot of years in a big old crowd, and I don't like crowds. So if it's going to be difficult to get in and you're going to have to deal with a bunch of people slammed together, I'm probably not going to go. Good television. But I do have to admit this year, I watched a little bit the other day, watched the badminton players. Now, I've never seen this on the Olympics before. But they run around the stage with such celerity, and then they hit the shuttlecock and it goes, and it's like really, it's like all this energy in the ball or the shuttlecock. It's crazy. It's fascinating. I actually kind of watched it in a medical right. They put all this energy in here, and I just thought that was all energy. So yeah, I think it's worth it. I think that it's good. I think it's worth it financially. I don't always wonder, okay, he did the next best backflip in the world, where I get to go. Like, really? But I still like seeing the competition. I still think it's an international connection between us. I know it's a lot of times made political and they get rid of it. They won't let this country in. Russia, you can't play now because of doping a few years ago, but now they're all playing, but they're under the Russian Olympic Committee. So they stuck around it, but they're still playing for you. I'm a little bit better. Go on. Back to you.
I'm going to ask our timers, did all of our contestants qualify?
Yes.
Very good. All four of our use the word of the day.
Yes, it is.
Okay. First of all, Wes talked about should the Olympics been held this year, and then Tom talked about what events he might compete in. Dagan talked about whether it's a team or an individual effort, and then John talked about the value of the Olympics. So go ahead and ask your ballot for those person who thought did the best in the paper topic. And I'm going to turn the lecture over to our general evaluator, Mark Sims. Come on, Mark.
Thank you, Kim. The evaluation portion of the meeting. We'll hear from our speech evaluators, our duty role holders, and then I'll give a few thoughts on the meeting. First, we will get right into the speech evaluations. And our speech evaluator number 1 to evaluate the Marshall's speech is Megan Nealon. Please come and welcome Megan.
Thank you, Mark. So for my evaluation, I'm going to give a few things I thought were good about the speech, a couple of things I think need to improve on, and one really good thing I really like about the speech. So first, if I can read my writing. First, I like to see, you explain how the different maps work. So that's really good to, it makes the speech that he did, so it's really good to see they explain how the different maps work. Also, you came out, you stayed behind the lecture. Your point in time, but you came on your side to actually show us the map, make points. So I thought that was really good, especially to be able to see the map, and be able to get better. But in this type of situation, I think it was appropriate to actually use behind the lecture and get more information and more notes, because then talk about the map, and things. I thought that was kind of appropriate to be like that. When it comes to a couple things that we need to improve on, one thing, kind of very beginning, it mentioned about the article. And if I talk like something about the article stated. So I kind of say, well, what article are you talking about? When it comes to the second thing, I made a big proof on is that, I like the flow. He went from the like the best math. Well, first you mentioned, plot or circle, he said, no, in 9-5. But I think it's anyway from the best to the least. I think it's more exciting to go from the least to the best. So we mentioned, about plot the circle, he doesn't know, but I'll get to the best here a little bit later and kind of go through the process of this map, how it works, and then go to the bigger. Always give me the best 295. I thought that would be more sense. And of course, the best thing I really like about your speech was really the whole speech stuff. You get great information about the different maps, how the different maps work, and how to actually work them, who they're good for, and all that kind of information. So it's very good information, very good. And actually, I really love the opening, the little thing we had. I read the same line there. So I really like that. So really great speech, Mark. Back to you doing better.
Bob Giles is our second speaker. He is going to be evaluated by John Bell. Please come and welcome him.
Rob. Especially Rob. So tonight, your speech was supposed to be a storytelling speech, and it was a different part that could be a story because we wanted the story and of itself. Now I'm going to knock you down to one flaw you had in your speech, my opinion. You had strike 2. But you didn't have a strike 1, and you didn't have a strike 3. So if you're going to go along that metaphor, it's going to go along. But that's the only thing I've gone wrong with. Your speech was very good, very entertaining. You acted it out on the stage. If you're going much longer, probably lost it. But you really worked the stage. It was very physically played out. And we followed along with you in that, and that was very good. Also, you involve the audience. Have any of us ever felt like a fool? Well, of course, some others in this time, unless you're just kind of a sociopath, doesn't ever see anything negative about yourself, but everybody will that way. So you said that several times, you brought the audience back around to that here and there, bring them all back in the circle and doing it. It was also very, had some humor, that was just very different, but it kind of was the way you were running around and acting out, the garage door, things like that. So they say, I've never done that. But all in all, you are very well organized. You actually kind of had the 3 points, even though you did have 3 different little kind of areas there that you did. Because you weren't the back of the left and back and everything, or back to garage. So it's well organized. I have a hard time telling a story without going off on those tangents, and you did never go there. The one tangent you did, I had when I felt like a fool. That was the end of the storyline. So very entertaining, a lot of variety, a lot of physicality as you acted out the whole storyline, and all in all, I'm completely sad. Just strike 1 and strike 2 in, 3 in there, or at least strike 2 out altogether. Great job, though. Thank you.
That's good to say, language evaluate.
Yes, they will.
Thank you. Next case, please take a moment for the best evaluator, either Megan or John Devins. I'll move to that. We want to move into the duty holders. And first of all, I would like to ask for Marion, Megan, you would.
Sorry, I don't have too much to say, but what I was listening to when I was concentrating on this evaluation, everybody did speak to the abilities that I know they speak to. Everybody did a really good job. I didn't really hear anything wearing that, really bad or anything like that. So I think everybody did a pretty good job speaking tonight. Everybody used the word of the day, and the table was always great here. And again, for rather than getting up there too at the end, so you did a pretty good job. Back to you, Billy Becker.
I was the art counter tonight. I'm going to the call. And most all of us had some of us skip the rest of the us. They got a couple of notes, a couple of others. I had several exposed during the session. So this was not much. I think I find it. Again, I think it's those that are. That's something that we can all strive to work on. It's not asking you to speech somewhere, but it's something the more you do, you kind of pick up on it. So the more you can read out, you can come to it. And our next duty holder is our posture monitor.
Evaluator, fellow audience members. I'm going to go through from the beginning to the end. As you know, you've heard the bell from time to time. And I'll point out when I did that and why I did that. I will say that Mark Schroeder, during your speech, not necessarily gestures, but using the props I thought were fantastic. You used the maps and represented those well, emphasized those well at different points, so you did a good job with that. Kim, during your table topic session, I did notice that you had a hand clasp, and I did ding you on that, but you also had kind of the beach ball effect where your hands were almost here almost the entire time. They did move around a little bit, but they were just here, basically like you were holding a beach ball or playing around with a beach ball. So as you know, bring the hands down, and I know that when I dinged you, you moved your hands to the side. So you know that, but I wasn't dinging during the whole beach ball scenario. Wes, you had good use of your hands. You were talking about unifies, and you were bringing your hands together, and you talked about, you said, I think exist. can't remember which one, but you had a good hand gesture with that. I apologize. Did not write that part down. You did have a little bit of back and forth, which sometimes is from nerves, because you're not sure exactly what you want to be doing purposefully with your body. So that's something to think about. Maybe just try to calm down. Use the stage in a more purposeful manner, and that can help out with that as well. Tom, when you were up here for table topics, you heard the bell, and that was for your hand claps. And I don't know if you really recognize that or not, or if it was just too strong for you to resist doing that. But that was what the dings were for. You also had a little bit of back and forth, more of a pacing, like you really wanted to get the message out to us about what you were talking about. And that can be good if you can make it purposeful, but it didn't seem very purposeful. So think about that the next time that you're up. You did use one gesture that I thought was enhancing what you wanted to say. You talked about, I couldn't see myself in that role. When you said that, you pointed to your head, which I think, in general, eyes, head, so, but, or you were thinking of that. So yeah, that was a good gesture to enhance what you were saying. Dagan, you had a little bit of the beach ball thing as well when you were up here, but you did have a couple of things where you talked about the pass and move your hand to the side, and then you talked about being a team, and you brought your hands together as well. So you did well with those gestures. John, when you were up here, you said personally, and you brought your hands to yourself. That's a good way to accentuate what you're saying there as far as being specifically talking about yourself. You also talked about people slammed together, and you had that gesture with your hands regarding that. You talked about big crowds, use your hands in that method as well. Other good things, hit the shuttlecock, and then you actually use your finger for the trajectory of the shuttlecock. So that was great as well. Some good gestures to enhance what you were saying there. Dagan, during your evaluation, again, a little bit of a back and forth. You did use a lot of gestures to explain how Mark was using the mask and showing the mask. You said that you were showing the mask and you kind of stepped forward just a little bit and put your hands forward, so that was good. You had a great job throughout when you were showing or telling examples of how Mark used the mask throughout his speech, so you did a great job with that. You also had one time when you talked about the flow, and you used your hands in motion, kind of going along a line. So you did great with that. John, during your evaluation of me, you did have your hands clasped a couple times, and it seemed like you really wanted to get them back there. Sometimes you were just partly there, and I did ding you a couple of times. It's just something to think about. That's it for my entire report. Back to Mr. General.
Thoughts on how the meeting went. Everyone pitched in to get that out and going. There were smooth adjustments made as far as the role changes. The evening course was very relevant and not really a big coincidence, but Tuesday I represent the Toastmasters meeting. There was a separate one, which is some relevance across the week. On these speeches, I'm sure I found out that the type of mask I wear is one of them that's not all that good. Why did this? Right. It doesn't surprise me. Although this looks so professional, it ought to be good. And Rob Giles, the business about locking your stuff down. I remember as a child, Dad locked the keys in the car, and we went to hell for a couple of hours until little things like that drove the other than late in the week. And not to be outdone when I was a teenager, last middle week I locked the car keys in the car and also at home. So for the last 40 years since then, I've always carried 2 sets of car keys. The problem is different. On the table topic questions, I think they were very good together. They were, again, definitely they were definitely questions and answers. And you informed me with the information on how much we started on those topics. So, I think the answering questions are answered. So, the topic question, again, that's why I'm used to it. But on the, what is this time to go back? And before I do that, though, we have one more vote. That's the big please vote for victory either our table topics master, Tim Crandall, or me, the general evaluator, Mark.
We have a few guests, and then we'll discuss our business. Jumping right into it, we have two returning guests. We'll address our attention to them first. So the returning guest, just tell us what you thought about our meeting. We'll start today for Sarah.
I really enjoyed the meeting. I just feel like it gets better and better every time. And I'm really excited to be a part of a member here, actually. Yeah, those are some things I need to work on, so I'm really excited to be here. But yes, I love coming and I do every single time. Thank you.
Good question again?
Just tell us about the big game.
This week's meeting, it was terrific. Love the topic, very topical. One of the things that I really liked in general about this is in order to master something, I always tell our kids this, in order to master something, you have to go through being awful. And this seems like a really safe place to be awful. You still get, I love the feedback that you guys are giving each other. It's very constructive, but, and productive as well. But also, it's not intimidating getting up in front of a tough crowd. You know that everyone here is supportive, even though they're giving constructive feedback. So that's one of the things that I really like about it. I thought the meeting went well.
And hold on. Yep. Please, for us, share your thoughts on meeting with Toastmasters College.
Sure. So on my first time in here, I was super impressed. I think everyone was amazing in here. I think one of my biggest flaws, I'm pretty terrible public speaker, I would say. Probably one of my worst skills. Put that out there. So I think something like this can being around people like you all will help me improve my skills and really be a great benefit to me as well. So I'm very impressed. My first time here, and I look back and I speak and work forward from there. So I have a previous coworker that is Toastmasters back in Florida where I'm from. So I had known about it from that. I just, was doing that one day and I realized I kind of want to get better at speaking because of my job. I do a lot of speaking in my job, so I figured, hey, it'd be good to get better at it. So I figured I remember this from her and I looked it up and I saw there was plenty of opportunities in the area. So I decided to add it into this area.
And I'm Mr. Lamar, I'm not here. I didn't like the meeting. I made us feel very comfortable. And I feel like walking here, I said, these people all need know how to give a speech. They don't need to be here. I'm the only one that needs to be here. So that's really how I'm open. Don was over here. Put it down. As you all know, over this past week, the public threat level in Dallas County has gone from yellow to orange. And we did hold a meeting via Zoom on Monday. Thought everybody here in attendance or on Zoom. Stayed to the meeting. And there were no votes per se. Well, there was one vote that was held, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But people had an opportunity to share their thoughts on how to handle things. Do we continue going hybrid? Do we go completely Zoom? And at what point would we just automatically go to Zoom. Obviously, the last thing we would want is for people to show up and not know that we've actually transitioned the meeting. So after discussing the situation, given the fact that obviously anybody's welcome to wear a mask, if you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, there are more tables and more space than there are of us. We could, in theory, literally spread out that you have one guest at each and every table. So social distancing is an option. And those who want to join by Zoom are able to do that. It seems as if the hybrid format is working, although we've never tried one of the big three from Zoom. But we've had some prepared speakers, we've had some underneath overloads, had all that, and that has worked. After discussion on Monday, the group that met Monday felt that at this point, given that it is orange, we could continue with the hybrid format up until if and when the threat level goes from orange to red, at which point, if the county threat level goes to red, we would automatically scale back and go to Zoom. I also heard on the news last night that actually if positivity rate gets up about 15% and the hospitalization rate reaches a certain point, that actually county judges can enforce restrictions such as going to 50% occupancy at restaurants to here. There are mechanisms in place, but the overall consensus among the people that met Monday night is that it would be safe to continue doing hybrid until if and when the county threat level goes to red. So I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to speak on this. If you've been to the previous meeting Monday night, maybe there's one here that hasn't heard you, or if you couldn't make it, I want you to have an opportunity to talk. All the way up to the floor. Anybody have any comments? Okay. Anybody else who doesn't have any comments or questions or would like to address the audience?
Mr. Lee, can you hear me? Hi.
Yes.
I am glad to be here. I just wanted to voice that at this point in time, I'm going to continue to stay online, just as information that I sent you online. So I will continue online until I can go back to, until the threat level or I feel personally comfortable to going back to in-person meetings. Thank you.
And Karen brings up a good point. Yeah, definitely people more comfortable at any point joining us by Zoom. That's certainly okay. And Marcia, did you have anything? I just want to make sure I can see you all. You had anything?
Marcia, do you have anything? You're on mute.
No question.
All right, last one, I have anybody else have any other discussion? All right, at this point, what I'm going to ask is that if you are comfortable continuing to meet in this hybrid format up until if or when the threat level goes from orange to red, please raise your hand if you're in favor of continuing with hybrid. If I can only have members of the club, or if you're going to if you're a member or you're a guest, but you're actually going to pay tonight, you may go ahead and vote. Otherwise, just voting. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, and those that would prefer to go strictly back to Zoom effective next week, please raise your hand. we voting? No, what? No voting, okay. And.
They voted for hybrid. They voted for hybrid.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like everybody's in agreement that we will continue with hybrid up until the other thing that we discussed Monday night was about contests, and overwhelmingly the majority of the members of District 50 indicated that they would prefer online. Hybrid was not an option for contests. It's either all online or it's in person. And the majority of District 50 felt that it is better to stay virtual with that, which means that we will do the same. Our club contest this year will be the humor speech and tall tales. Humor speech is 5 to 7 minute speech on a humorous topic. And then tall tales is like an enlarged story, it's 3 to 5 minutes. In order to compete, you have to be a paid member as of the night that the competition itself, which means at that point you would have to have paid really the previous week in order to compete in the contest. And that's going to be on August the 27th. The area contest will be on Saturday, on September the 11th. For that particular meeting, to make it fair to everybody, we have decided that on the night of the 27th,
Actually, it's the 26th.
oh, the 26th, sorry. So on the night of the 26th, our club contest will be held via Zoom. We will not meet at a zone on the 26th. We will only be meeting via Zoom to give everybody an opportunity to compete if they felt safer doing so from home, and just keep playing the old fair for everybody. Other than that, there is one more last chance CLI opportunity next month, and it's my understanding that they are going to attend that in person. With that, I don't have any other announcements, so let's hear who won.
Best speaker order of the events was first one, best speaker goes to Rob. The best table topics goes to John. The best evaluator goes to John Paul. And the final one, the best of big three is Mark.
Mark Sin. He knew it.